Hi, Dr. Anita here, and welcome. I'm going to think through the area of identity, and we're going to explore a little bit more around that question of who am I? And there's certain facets to all of this that's like a diamond that's all interconnected with not one influence but many that's determining that very big question of who you are at this time. Today, we're going to think through the area of the individual factors that may well be speaking into that story of who you and your family are at this time. We're going to think through the area of nature and nurture. And when I say nature, I'm talking about the hardwiring of your physical being that's determining different aspects of who you are. So, for instance, genetics and what you've inherited, and even just your natural way that you're wired. And these aspects are things like your physical features or your natural skills, or even those risks of developing certain diseases or not developing certain diseases. You may think to yourself, oh, I look so much like my father, or I am just like my mum in my personality or in certain strengths or certain even weaknesses. So some of that is the hard wiring of who you actually are. And then you've got nurture, which is environment and upbringing and interactions and even education and what you've been exposed to, because this also works together with the nature. So even though you might have a higher risk of developing certain diseases, certain aspects of your environment will influence that as to whether you actually develop that disease or not. In fact, a good way of thinking this through about nature and nurture is your phone, where there's wiring on your phone that is the basic part of how you use this thing. But then there's the software, which you sometimes might update to actually get a better use of this actual thing. But you see, in all of that is the final thought that I have around the story of who you and your family are, and that is choice. Because although those influences are existing of nature and nurture, how you internalize that and the choices you make around that and the values you place around those things is what also determines who you are at this time. There's a theory by Erik Erickson that as you walk through life, there's different phases where you develop certain aspects of who you are. And if you don't transition well through each phase, you tend to revert back and stay stuck until you finally transition and move out of each phase. Another way of thinking this through is around unresolved issues or conflicts that might have been there from maybe young, but it still follows you right through to becoming an adult. And until you resolve that thing that you're stuck at, you may well be dragging it with you through life. So it's helpful to think through all of those factors at this time, because as you reflect, it's good to kind of decide, well, what am I going to accept and reject in determining who you are in this moment right now. I hope you found that helpful. And in the meantime, stay well and take care of your mental health.